All right, let's go ahead and get this meeting started. All right, this is our February general meeting of the Westside Community Council. My name is Marco Cuevas. For those of you that don't know me, I have the pleasure of serving as the chair this year. And I want to thank you all for coming out this evening, braving the weather. For those that are in person, those that are in Zoom, welcome. Just a couple things to go over before we get started. I know you guys are very eager to hear about the topic that we have presented tonight. Just full disclosure, this is a informational meeting. There is no decision being made tonight. The Westside Community Council Board is currently neutral. That may change in the future, but as of right now, we're just providing this presentation for you to hear what this proposal is. We do have surveys in the back that we will pass along to council, your thoughts. I know I see a few council members on our Zoom as well as the new Community Development Director, Rachel Diamond. I saw her somewhere around here. And then also mic etiquette. If you could talk like about this close to the mic so that we can capture it, and also wait like when we have questions and stuff later, comments that you want to say later, so that our recording can pick it up for our YouTube later, as well as for Secretary Freeman when he's going over and doing the minutes later as well. Next, I'm going to invite Yvonne Quintero to go over interpretation.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Quintero Cañachi. I'm part of the communications and interpreting team. If anybody should need interpreting in Spanish, please go to the back of the room where we will provide the equipment. Hola, me llamo Yvonne Quintero Rea. Soy parte del equipo de comunicaciones e interpretación en español. Cualquier persona que ocupe interpretación, por favor, vaya hacia atrás y le proporcionaremos un audífono. Gracias.
All right, thank you for that. Next, for the invitation to membership, I'm going to invite Vice Chair Figueroa up.
Good evening, everyone. Bienvenidos a todos. We'd like to invite everyone to sign the form for membership for the Westside community. It's in the purple table. We have the form. O todos si pueden firmar para ser miembros del barrio oeste. Tenemos las formas ahí en la mesa morada. Any donation is welcome and thank you for coming. Cualquier donación es bienvenida. Gracias.
Thank you. Before we get started on the presentation, we just have a few standing reports that we do every month. There's agendas in the back that you can also take a look to follow along on what we have going on tonight. First up, we have the Patrol Watch Report from Commander Hurd.
I know you're all here for me, so thanks for coming. I'm just kidding. There's a couple of reports for those of you who are not normally at these meetings that I give each month, typically, unless there's special requests for something else. So if you are somebody who comes and watches these meetings and you want particular information, please reach out to your board and then they communicate with me for what kind of information you're looking for. For instance, this first report here is our crime map. I get this every month with just how many crimes you're seeing across your section of the city only. And it's pretty, last month is looking pretty regular. That's about the amount of crimes that we normally see in this area. Nothing standing out to me. I've reviewed all the separate crimes that happened. There wasn't any huge standouts. If you're looking at this for the first time, you're seeing the drug offenses. That looks like a big number. That is based on arrests that our officers, mostly arrests. So 24 of those 26 are arrests that our officers made that have some sort of drug element to them. So that could have been something that started as like a different type of call, but there's a drug element to it. So that gets added in there with the way these statistics are recorded. And then the assault offenses, if you're looking at it going, holy mackerel, 15 people got assaulted in just my little area. That does also include domestic violence or things happening inside of households and things like that. So that's not necessarily people being attacked on the street or anything like that. Those numbers are relatively very low. Everything else, larcenies and thefts and things like that were fairly normal. I'm happy to see that there were only 2 motor vehicle thefts, both of which knew their perpetrator. So that's gotten better. So my reminder for you guys to keep your keys out of your car and keep your doors locked or hopefully sinking in. So please keep doing that. Looks pretty good. And then there's one other report. If you want to pull up the other map that we cover. Is the narcotics offenses report. And this was generated out of a particular request from a member of your area. Pete, or who moves the map? Helen? New map. Yeah. So this is just the narcotic offenses and overdoses map. I'm sorry, not offenses. This is calls for service. So this is when somebody in the community called and said, hey, I think there's narcotics activity in this area. We got 17 of those type of calls over the last month. And we go out and we assess all of those. And there's a myriad of different things that come from that. Sometimes we go there and the people are gone. Sometimes we go there and we do a probation search and we find something or don't. So some of those are related to the arrests you saw on the previous one, and some of them are not. Some of them are the people were gone when we got there or things like that. For overdoses this month, there were 4 in your area. Only one of those was fatal, but one was fatal. That's not good. And the rest of them were either okay when we got there or Narcan worked on them if it was a opioid. Yes. Oh, yes. Does someone have a microphone for Mr. Bello?
Thank you. Related to the overdoses, I've been doing a little bit of research on opioid overdoses in our neighborhood, because we do see, car washes, we do see notices of people passing away in our neighborhood, and I'm just trying to track the stats because there seems to be a disparity going on. I went to the California Overdose Surveillance Dashboard, and in 2022, it said in the zip code of 93001, there were 50 overdoses per 100,000 people. I reviewed all of the stats for the state. We are right on the top for overdose deaths in the state. We're comparable with the worst counties in California up on the northwest part of California. I know 93001 goes beyond the avenue. It goes maybe into the river bottom, goes into downtown and everything, but it doesn't seem to be advertised so much how much of a public health crisis it is. To put it in context, all of California is 18 deaths per 100,000. All of Ventura County is 26 deaths per 100,000. Of all the deaths in Ventura County, it looks like 83 of approximately 200 were within the city of Ventura, and the majority of them within our zip code. So I'm not saying that the information is inaccurate or something, but I would love for the Ventura Police Department and County Public Health to help us better understand this crisis, because we know that it's hitting a lot of our neighbors who don't have a lot of power. A lot of parents who are monolingual Spanish speakers are losing kids in our neighborhood, and it's out there. We see it. We see the car washes and everything, but we don't know what the solution is. And obviously, we are at an extreme crisis situation in our zip code, and I don't think a lot of us even realize that. So just want to see what we could do to collaborate with County Public Health as the Westside Community Council and with the Ventura Police, and really come up with a way to resolve this, because I don't think we're aware of how large this is.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I think that the majority of the population is unaware of how big a problem it is, other than what they see on the news or nationwide. I think you're right. I think some education would be great for everyone, just to be aware of what to look for, what you can do to help, how we can help mitigate these things. We are involved with the county on a countywide task force. They presented at not too long ago council meeting. I don't know if you're at that one where they talked about the V focus group where they're focusing specifically on fentanyl dealers in the whole county, including in the city of Ventura, and trying to really take enforcement on those things. And that way, if they get the dealers, they get the drugs off the street, they help with that. And they also work overdose cases. So when there's an overdose case, they trace it back and try to find the source of that, where it came from. And then they can do prosecutions for that related to the dealing and the death, the wrongful death of somebody. So that is something that is being worked on behind the scenes, but I do also think you're correct in that some education to the general public would be great too. So I agree with you there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions for me? I don't want to take up your time as there's a large agenda. I understand. No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Commander Hurd. Next up, we have City of Ventura updates. We have a representative from the city, Alejandra. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce her last name, but
Hi, everybody. Alejandra Vilalcázar. I work for the City of Ventura, and I'm your communications liaison. I'm basically here to be your ear and be your guide as if you try to navigate any information or if you'd like to get in contact with somebody in the city. I'm your person. I have some of my business cards back there. Feel free to email me. I can stick around for any questions. So some of our updates that we have for today is we have a new Parks and Rec director, and we're super stoked about that. Her name is Stacy Sarasua. With the rain and everything that's been happening, we just want to let the community know that there are resources. We have VC Alert, and we have a Ready for Rain website that is dedicated to giving everybody resources and information. So if you haven't signed up for VC Alert, I brought some pamphlets in the back. Please feel free to take those home and sign up. And the emergency services team wanted me to share that with every storm, the city and county both monitor the hillside on the west end of Ventura. And in reference to the February 3rd and 6th rainstorms, there have not been any signs of life-threatening land movement. But please stay informed, please sign up. And in the next day or two, our emergency services manager, Mac, will be surveying the area with a drone, and we'll be getting a closer look. Please report any storm damage by February 13th. The Ventura County Sheriff Office of Emergency is calling on everybody that's had any damage to their homes or personal property. Please report this, and you can go into vceemergency.com and you can check out all the resources that we have there. We also have Parks and Rec department will be hiring for summer jobs. If you have anybody that's interested, please go on our website. And we are also looking for 4th of July street vendors, and applications will close April 1st. Super exciting announcement is X Games is coming to Ventura. Woo woo. Yes. Again, and that's gonna be from June 28th through the 30th. And also, if you haven't, please sign up for our Ventura newsletter. You have all the insight on there. We have our events, information, and you can get in contact with us through there as well. All right. Oh, and also Ventura Pier. I know we all love our pier, and we're looking to open it back up summer of 2024. And if you have any questions, we have all the updates on our website as well. Thank you.
thank you very much. Also, we have Councilmember Campos on Zoom. I believe she wants to provide a few updates as well.
Good evening. I don't have a whole lot to say. I wanted to report out that we finished our goal setting last Saturday, and rather go into a lengthy explanation of it. You can see the video on the website under public meetings, and it's on the City Council tab, February 3rd. I'd also like to encourage you to come and speak to the council about anything you need to say or want to say this following Tuesday at 5 p.m. It's our first council meeting of the month, so we have open public comment at the beginning of the meeting. And you know how to email us for anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Campos. Next up, we have the treasurer's report from Treasurer Zerbes.
I'm short. Good evening. Nice to have you all in here, even though it's rainy. You know, that's only liquid sunshine. Okay, we have today, we have $2,132.72. That means we've got a lot of cents. Let's keep it. I'm a resident. My name is Kay Zerbes. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna bring back something that we used to do, which is pass the hat around, basically trying to get some donations, any loose change that you might have. So this hat, just kind of like the collection plate at church, right? Just passing a hat around, donate anything you can. We have a little bit in the bank. Obviously, we'd like to do more. If you look at our balance sheet for the month ending in January, you see some expenses and income from membership deposits. We'd like to grow our membership, obviously. We had a $100 donation to Food Share, which was derived from our fiesta last year. Just made a profit on that, if you can call it a profit. But yeah, we'd still like to fundraise for some more money to obviously pay for the expenses that we have, such as Zoom, this building that we're in, as well as new initiatives that we're trying to go for. Next up, we have the GPAC report from Secretary Freeman.
Hello, everybody. All right. Hi, everybody. So Pete Freeman, I'm a secretary. I'm also a member of the General Plan Advisory Committee for the City of Ventura. And the general plan is about every 25 years, the city will go through and do a plan that basically lays out where we want the city to go and how we want it to grow for the next 25 years. So I'm going to try and put 5 hours of meetings into about 5 minutes. So bear with me. So we did meet this month for the first time in about 6 months. On January 29th, we discussed parks and open space. Part of the big, most of the suggestions were for trying to work with the schools to open up the schools for public use after hours. Currently, a lot of them are being fenced off for security reasons. So that was one of the big things. Also funding for our parks. There were some ideas about maybe using public-private ads or naming, or maybe a parcel tax, or working with some of the other open space entities in the city, like the Botanical Gardens or Ventura Land Trust. We would like to see a park master plan. It was suggested to cap the 101 down at the end of California where it dips under and where we know it floods now. Maybe change one of the golf courses to open space was suggested. No artificial turf, more dog parks, and hopefully have a park within 15-minute walk from every resident in the city. And then on the 30th, we discussed environmental justice. And what that is it's policies to deal with or related to racial and economic inequity, pollution and exposure, physical and mental health, food access, civil engagement, and safe and sanitary homes, and ADA access and equity. And those, this element is required in our general plan, and those 7 items that I just told you usually come down from the state, so we have to deal with those. Some of the issues or some of the ideas that came out of this were, let's look at our redundant policies. Do we need policies for the city that are already being covered by the state and or county? There was farmers markets are wanted on the east side. expand eviction prevention assistance and add an assistance to housing access and add emergency short-term assistance to remain in housing for renters or for anybody actually. Conflict public statements. One thing we got, what we were talking, we have got conflicting public statements as to pollution on the west side. So we decided, and I think it's in our implementation plan, to do a study on the west side to see if there is pollution, what pollution there is and where it's coming from and what health effects it's having. The Ventura River Trail out here brought up about needing more access points from the community, cap old wells, various tenants protections needed, subsidized convenience stores to provide healthy foods and fresh groceries, and also how to age in place. And those are just a few of the items that were brought up. So like Councilmember Campos said, the meetings are all videotaped. They're on the city YouTube channel. And if you ever want to go and watch 5 hours of meetings about what your city's, how your city's going and where it's heading, that's where you can do it. Thanks. Any questions?
Just a very quick question. Has any consideration been given to include housing land trusts as part of the housing part for homeless and for low income?
It didn't come up at the meeting.
I think that's a shame.
Okay, well, we're not done. So I can send an email in and talk to me after the meeting. So I know exactly what I'm emailing. Okay, thanks.
I know the former chair at the goal setting session brought up section 24.470 about noxious use in our neighborhood. And, you know, we went through so many meetings talking about noxious use as the West Side Clean Air Coalition, as the West Side Community Council, Manos Unidas. Many different organizations met with consultants and with staff to talk about the need to address noxious use. During the dramatic change from the Planning Commission by the industrial sector on the avenue, that all of that nuance about noxious use was lost. I know we've reached out to the Community Development Department to ask if this code has been enforced, because, you know, we have a right to know if the code on the books is being enforced or not. And that's really going to inform our discussion on whether or not West Siders are safe in their neighborhoods if there are noxious uses going on. So I just want to commend Helen Eloyan for bringing that up in the goal setting session. But from what I saw watching the goal setting session, I know you guys broke out into groups and everything. I couldn't really tell, but it didn't seem like that was fully addressed. So I know Rachel Diamond's here. I don't know if she wants to talk about that right now, but it's something that I think that we, as the West Side Community Council, as the West Side Clean Air Coalition, and other entities, we still want answers on whether or not that enforcement is happening or not. So, thank you.
Yeah, I can just speak to the GPAC meeting. I was at Steve Bennett's meeting during the goal session, the city goal session, so I'm not really up to date on that, but was it? Okay. Yes, you did. It fell under a couple elements that we addressed, but the consensus was to go back to what the GPAC had suggested or recommended originally, and then the Planning Commission changed it, and then the City Council changed it back. So those weren't involved, but that I think comes down to where we need to do a study, because it's kind of hard to really make decisions without having the data. And like I said, we were getting conflicting, you know, one person would come up and say everything's great, and another person can come up and say everything's really bad. So we need some facts and that's what I'm looking for anyway. Rachel, would you like to comment?
Hi, thanks so much, Matt. That's actually a really good question. And I know it's something that has come up before I got here. And so a lot of the conversation about land use element of the general plan brought up conversations about industrial uses in this neighborhood, and then the city's regulations that Matt mentioned by code section about performance standards. And so the city has performance standards for certain types of uses. Basically what the rules say is if you're a use that's allowed in these industrial zoned areas, which is basically a portion of the avenue on both sides that includes industrial zoning, if you're a use that's permitted in those areas and you were established after 1981, here are your performance standards. So it includes things that were mentioned like noise and noxious fumes and other kind of potentially negative impacts to the community. So the unfortunate reality about those regulations, which I believe were created probably around 1981, hence that cutoff, is that it cuts off so many of the industrial uses that have been around for quite longer than 1981. And even if a business owner changed hands or we went from one industrial use to another, it's still that the use was already there before 1981. So much of the actual industrial uses in this area don't actually fall under this requirement. So what we end up seeing from an enforcement standpoint is that we're enforcing these performance standards for places like restaurants where there are also things like smoke and fumes. And so we're enforcing it as we can. And it's on a case-by-case basis where we look at, okay, we're getting a complaint because frankly, a vast majority of our code enforcement is complaint-based in the city. And so as a result, we're checking to see, was the use in place after 1981 or before 1981? If it's after, we could enforce those regulations. Again, what we've looked at is that so many of these uses that actually have these impacts to the community are not subject to these regulations. So what we're doing right now is we're working with our GIS team to map the entire area and have a clear map of who was here before or after 1981 so that we really understand where the enforcement lies. And as soon as we have that information, we can share it with you here or in as many other places as we can to help you understand, here are the places you can call us about. And frankly, you can call us about other places too that aren't included on that map, but those are places where we will be able to enforce those performance standards, and we're committed to doing so. So I know you may have heard that it's complicated, and it is complicated, but we are committed to enforcement of our rules. Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel. Anybody else? Nothing on Zoom? Do you see it, Helen? Francisco has a mic right next to you.
Okay, so from Councilmember Campos, Pete, all the latest info is that APCD studies have been done. Noxious use is specific. APCD can give you a list of current NOx uses.
Make sure we save that chat so I know to go back and look at that. Thank you. Oh, one more thing I forgot. We will be meeting in, I believe, in February. We don't have a date yet, and then we'll be talking about, I believe, economic issues. So thanks for your time.
All right, thank you for that crash course on what's happening in GPAC. Next up, we have open comment period. If anyone has any comments, okay, I'll caveat, not related to the McDonald's presentation. We'll have that after the presentation in a few minutes. Does anyone have any other comments, questions? Okay, old business. We've been including this on the agenda for quite some time now. We also have it included on our website, just a city service information request, basically numbers for, what are you pointing at? Okay. Pothole hotline, streetlight outages, graffiti, you name it. So if you haven't grabbed one of our agendas, or you can check it out online if you want to report something to the city, then we have all that information readily available for you. All right, 7:05, not too bad. We're going on time for this meeting, it seems like. So
Lori
next
has her hand up on Zoom. Lori, if you have a moment to mute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, thanks everybody. Hello, everybody. So I just wanted to make everybody aware that tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on Zoom only, our neighboring community council, the Midtown Ventura Community Council, will be featuring a presentation by Trust for Public Lands about how school yards are being used as open space for kids and families in the community. It's been, I'm a former chair and board member of the West Side Community Council, and it's been in our West Side Community Council West Side Vision. There it is on the screen for over 10 years that is a vision that we have. There's interest among the other community councils, to my understanding, and the Community Council of Congress has discussed it. So this is another example of all of us neighbors and us community councils can join together to have a voice about if that's something that's important to you or you want to learn more about. I recommend attending tomorrow night. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Helen, actually just pull that up really quick. I'm just gonna take 20 seconds to go over
Perfect.
that. I was going, Lori stole my thunder. I had announcements at
Sorry.
the end. That's all right. So a couple other announcements really quick. Ventura Unified School District is looking for members for their parcel tax committee. So if anyone is interested in meeting, reviewing, and reporting on expenditures of tax funds to ensure that it's used only for voter approved purposes, you can go on their website, venturausd.org. Learn more, and applications are due in just 2 weeks, either by email to victoria.cortez@venturausd.org or by mail. You can go online to find out more information on that. And the SBA, the Small Business Administration, has a disaster loan program that they're putting out there from the storms and floodings from back in December. So they have this administrative declaration where you can get a loan for physical damage. The application is due by March 11th. And for economic injury, it's due in October. You can go online to learn more or go to their Disaster Loan Outreach Center at the South Oxnard Branch Library. They're open 5 days a week, Monday through Thursday from 9 to 7 and Saturday from 9 to 3. Does anyone have any questions on that? There's a small QR code for that Midtown Ventura Community Council. I did not double check. I'm sure it's on their website as well if you want to sign up for that Zoom only meeting. Some great stuff that they're going over tomorrow. All right, if there's no other questions or comments, we can go ahead and move to the presentation. Oh, yes, Helen.
Kathy on Zoom said to attend the MVCC meeting to hear the Trust for Public Land presentation, you must register for the meeting on the Midtown website, and they will send you a link to join the website.
Great, that answers that. Yep, sign up in advance for that. All right, so for our presentation, we have the McDonald's proposal. Bring up the team here in a second. Not even gonna try to pronounce Mr. Jackson's first name, along with Tony Torres, Frank Malowski, and Stacy Miller. Before we invite them up, just want to remind everyone, I know sometimes we can get passionate on various topics here in the city. That's what I love about this city and this part of town. Just remember to be respectful. Again, to reiterate, this is informational. The next steps will be Design Review Committee, Planning Commission. Those are the bodies that will make more of a decision. But tonight you'll have the opportunity to ask questions, voice your comments, and we have surveys that will provide to the city council and the city staff, both on paper and online on our website as well. So for the people on Zoom, I posted that link earlier, and yeah, let's invite them to come present.
Take this, feel more comfortable holding it. First off, my name is Skylar Jackson. I'm the National Senior Real Estate Manager for McDonald's. And I just want to first start out by saying thank you for allowing us to come to the meeting tonight and to tell you what we're looking or proposing to do for our project just down the street. Just want to thank the Westside Community Council again for inviting us here, and want to go ahead and get started. So let's go and get to the next slide. So in this slide, the next slide, you'll see just basically a little caveat here. You know, I hope everybody knows McDonald's. You know, obviously we're a global company. We've done a lot in terms of our expansion, in terms of what we do, not only nationwide, but throughout the world, but more importantly, locally. You know, we have obviously a lot of restaurants, but all of our restaurants are tied to the local community. And so that's part of the reason why we're here. You know, we want to come out to you guys and show you exactly what we're trying to do. And hopefully, you know, if you have questions, we can try to answer them as best as we can. So on the agenda, as I said, myself is Skylar Jackson. I know it's kind of hard. It looks like Schuler. We have Frank Malawaski here, who's going to go over the site plan and the design concepts. And we also have Tony Torres, who will discuss what we've done so far in terms of community outreach. So further ado, here you go, Frank.
Thank you, Skylar. As Skylar mentioned, my name's Frank Malowski. Can we go to the next slide? Our project is going to be located on North Ventura Avenue and East Stanley Avenue. If you go to the next slide, you'll get a little better view of it. So this is what our proposed layout will look like. As you can see, North Ventura Avenue, East Stanley Avenue, and West Stanley Avenue to the south. Our proposed site plan is designed to maintain stacking on the proposed site. If you look at the dual lane drive-through there, the building is facing Ventura, as you can see there, with the main entry there on that side, and then the secondary entrance on the south side there. And the layout currently provides adequate parking per code. As you can see, there's parking on the east side and the south side of the property. And the site design complements local conditions. So that's what the site looks like. If you go to the next slide, you can see the building. And what we're proposing for the look of the building is a ivory colored stucco on the facades. And to better maintain the look of the building, there's a brick wainscot at the base of the building surrounding it. And for the upper portion, you have a niche composite wood. So it's going to have a wood look on the building, which is a composite, so it will be maintained throughout years, which is going to be an elegant look. If you go to the next slide, there may be additional views here. Yeah. So you can see what the east elevation and the west elevation looks like. So that's what we have here. Next slide. As you know, this proposed project will provide careers in management, competitive and local wages. The design, as you've seen, it's something that works well and is compatible with the community. The drive-through provides the latest technology, and the side-by-side configuration is well designed to prevent traffic issues. And our site plan meets the parking requirements and the optimal circulation to mitigate traffic issues. Want to go to the next slide? And the project benefits here, McDonald's prides itself in quality ingredients, no artificial preservatives or fillers in the beef patties. Chicken patties and nuggets are all white meat. Filet-O-fish is sustainably sourced, and the cheese and buns are all preservative-free. Next slide. And Tony Torres will explain the neighborhood canvassing.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here. Actually, about a year ago, starting in February through the first week of March, we deployed a team of bilingual canvassers. There was four of them that work for my firm to visit residents in the neighborhood adjacent to the proposed McDonald's. The canvassers did walk door to door and provided doorstep education. We had a shorter version of this PowerPoint and a handout that we gave to people. The PowerPoint we used to walk through, and there was a handout. And we informed residents what the building would look like, traffic flow, and there was a tear off on the bottom in case someone said, yeah, I like that, I'll sign up and support, or they could have kept the flyer, right? So they could either sign up and support or just keep the flyer. The bottom of the flyer was a tear off, and if they did sign up, we asked them, could we keep that for our records to submit to the city? And we did collect quite a bit of those. Next slide. So this is a massing of where the addresses were submitted to us, so of the cards that were given to us. We plotted them down on a Google map, so a lot of them are overlapping, as you can see in the neighborhood where they were gathered. Next slide. Okay, but go back to slides, fine. Yeah, we'll be here for answering questions. Okay, yeah, we're here to answer whatever questions you may have, and we did do our best to be as close to the McDonald's. That's only like 3 blocks away, or 4 or 5 blocks. So, anyways, next slide. Next slide. So we did talk to about 800 residents, 779, and 581 said that they would sign the card. And we have those cards, and we're submitting them to the city. There's phone numbers if anybody wants to verify, the authenticity of those cards. That's roughly about 74% of the people that we spoke to thought that it was a good idea. Next slide. Sorry about that. I just broke your pointer. In addition, 50 letters of support were issued for the project. The contributing factors for why people signed the card or issued a letter were that they felt the existing property had been vacant for a long time and really didn't contribute anything to the quality of life in this neighborhood. They thought the proposed project, the McDonald's project, would enhance the intersection with a new, beautiful building and potentially create a community gathering space. People had some nostalgic feelings about McDonald's, thinking it was a nice place, had gone there when they were younger. That would be a nice place for them to go, spend some time. Also, certainly amongst younger people and some older folks as well, they thought, this would be a good new employment opportunity. Certainly now that we're seeing the wages at McDonald's be more competitive, that's certainly the case. And people just generally like the idea that a McDonald's restaurant in the neighborhood could take place rather than what was existing there. Next slide. I think I turn this back over to you.
Thanks. So our project timeline currently looks like this. So we're looking to start construction in January 2025 and open a store in May 2025. Next slide, please. And this is just kind of an overview of what we've been doing prior to this meeting here. Is we made our initial submission to the city June 1st, 2023. We got an incompleteness letter from the jurisdiction on 7/19, which is the formal process. And we recently made a resubmission to the city on November 7th. And we are expecting comments back likely next week or within another week of that. Next slide. And here's my next steps. So our next steps here is to proceed in the development review, which includes the design review committee and the planning commission. There is a tentative parcel map that needs to occur. And then eventually after those two items can be concurrent, and eventually we're gonna submit for building and grading plans, which is typical. You go next slide. And there's my contact info if anybody wants to reach out and have any questions. So.
Thank you. We do have a couple questions and comments on Zoom. If you guys want to raise your hands, we have one mic that we can pass around. Just please remember to speak into the mic, wait for the mic to get so that we can capture it on our YouTube for later reference. First comment, I'd like the council from Sean. I'd like the council to support a ban on drive-throughs on the Ave. This will hurt current and future local owned businesses. Susie said elegant, question mark, question mark, question mark. Sean also said this will open the floodgates of fast food and other chain restaurants on the avenue. Also, if the Zoom folks, I'm going to read off all the comments on Zoom, but if you want to talk, please raise your hand as well, and we'll call you up to talk also. Someone else said, really loving the paint color discussion. What are your thoughts on promoting obesity and diabetes in a largely POC neighborhood? It's a question. That would be a question.
Can you repeat it?
Really loving the paint color discussion. What are your thoughts on promoting obesity and diabetes in a largely POC neighborhood? People of color.
Yeah, I know that's people of color. I would not say that McDonald's promotes obesity or, anything related to that. As we said in one of our slides, McDonald's does its best efforts to make sure our food is healthy, as possible. We source locally if we can. Sometimes we can't, but we definitely have very high standards when it comes to how we produce our food, how we prepare our food. And so in terms of obesity, obviously that's a much bigger issue, one that McDonald's, we'll do our best to try to help and solve. But in terms of our food and in terms of how we produce and make our food, it's quite healthy, to be honest.
Wait, hang on for the mic.
Do you know how many ingredients are in your French fries?
Well, I'm going to honestly say, no, I don't know. But what I am going to also say is that for this particular meeting, we're here to discuss the project. And I know that, as I said in the beginning, McDonald's is a global company. There's a lot of different things, a lot of different issues that people look to McDonald's for the positive and the negative. But for this particular meeting, I would like to see if we could keep it to just the project, because again, there's some questions that folks ask that, I'll be honest, I can't answer for you. I don't know all about the food and the ingredients and all those different things. That's not my purview with the company. My purview is real estate, looking to develop. And so hopefully we can kind of keep it within that realm.
So, I'm assuming you've already purchased the property?
No, we have not purchased the property. We're actually working with the existing property owner, and we'll be leasing the property from them. So we won't, ideally we'd like to purchase, but in this instance, we'll be leasing it from them.
Okay, but it's basically a done deal that you're gonna move the facility there. There's gonna be a McDonald's there, basically.
No, it's not a done deal at this point. And that's part of the reason why we come out to meetings such as this to explain what we're looking to try to do and hopefully build support for the McDonald's. But as Frank laid out in one of our slides, we still have several steps that we need to do in terms of design review, permitting, getting the parcel map. So to answer your question and briefly, no, we don't have the permits yet.
Okay. But aside from that, is the company putting in plans? Because I know McDonald's is more of a real estate kind of company now than it is a food company. But are they putting in plans to deal with the litter that's going to come along with having a McDonald's in the neighborhood, just like we have to deal now with the litter that came along with the 7-Eleven? Yeah, they revamped the building, but there's a lot of trash now on the avenue from it, and they do nothing. Is there any kind of connection you're gonna facilitate between you and the local nonprofit that deals with the neighborhood, like Adopt a Block or something?
Well, part of the litter situation will be dealt with our conditions of approval, because I'm sure the folks in the Planning Commission, Design Review, or what have you, will have specific standards for us to meet in terms of litter control and the like. But on top of that, McDonald's, the people that are going to be running the restaurant, our employees, will be out, in the parking lot, in the local neighborhood will be picking up trash, because the last thing we want is to have a bunch of trash around, especially right around our restaurant. We want it to be looking as clean as possible. So, you know,
Well,
I
I can
can't speak
understand
for
that.
I can't speak for other businesses and what they do or don't do.
No, I know. I'm speaking specifically for the McDonald's
Right. And again,
boxes and bags that I'm gonna be seeing along
yeah, and
streets
again,
that aren't near you.
we have our own internal recycling program in which, you know, when we have material that comes into the restaurant in different boxes or what have you, those boxes don't find their way out into the trash bins. We have recycling within the restaurant where we take that and then they're shipped away to, you know, recycling bins or to dumps, for lack of a better word, where those can be recycled again. But in terms of like small litter things, people throwing away cups or what have you, our employees will be on site and cleaning the restaurant, cleaning the parking lot, and making sure that it looks, you know, looks nice. I mean, we want that.
Right.
We don't want it to look dirty.
Well, I'm hoping that you do get in touch with the WCDC, which is the local nonprofit on the avenue that does have an Adopt a Block program going on, so that McDonald's can connect with them and maybe send a team out to adopt a street and pick up litter and take care of that, because
And
that's one big problem that 7-Eleven has really brought to the neighborhood.
And that's certainly something we can do. One of our comrades, she's in the audience, Stacy, she's taking notes. So, you know, we'll go back and we'll make sure that we get in communication with those groups. Because again, it all comes down to being local. We want to, you know, we want to be an asset to the community, not a detriment.
Well, first of all, I think it's amazing that you can come to a community meeting and then restrict the conversation and just say to speak to the project. The project is destructive to our community. It's destructive to our existing businesses. We have lots of families and restaurant owners and businesses. This is our comunidad. I think you're taking advantage of the low-income people and the medium income people and going around and influencing them that your food is good when it's not good. There might be occasional good choices. Ha, 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 they make a salad now. But no, I can't speak for everybody here, but raise your hand if you don't. I do not want you in my neighborhood. Thank you very much. Appreciate the beautification and the fact that you tell us, speak to the project when we are here as a community to say, no, we're not interested. We're not interested. So thank you.
All right. Well, that mic's going around.
I understand your opinion, and you know, that's one of the great reasons why we live in America. Everybody has a different opinion. Everybody sees things a different way. And I wasn't saying that I only wanted to speak to a certain thing to try to like bring it down, but there's certain items that I don't have the information on, that I'm not experienced in, and I don't want to give you incorrect information. That's all I'm saying. You know, so I'm not trying to belittle it or say that. Well, again, as I said, that's not what I do for McDonald's. And I mean, you know, if I had the degree and could answer that, I certainly would. But I don't want to give you an answer that would possibly be an incorrect answer. You know, like you said, you know, you want the facts. I want to be able to give you the correct facts. So to answer something that I have, you know, little or no knowledge of, because that's not the area that I deal with, I think would be unfair to your group to do that. So that's why I put that out there.
Okay. Yes, I'm very aware that McDonald's is now a multinational corporation. I am not sure what I think about that. I kind of rather wish you were thinking in terms of making your business worker owned and breaking it up and this kind of thing. But I don't see that you guys are going to do that anytime soon. My concern is so we'll talk about this specific McDonald's. One of my concerns is that we already have one representative when I consider the corporatocracy, and that's 7-Eleven. And as far as I'm concerned, that's enough on the avenue. I don't want another one. And no, I'm not done. And I also find that multinational fast food chains make it very hard for local people to start their businesses, keep their business. And I'm very much in support of our community having local food available. Some of it will probably not be as healthy as McDonald's. A lot of it may be more healthy than McDonald's. But so I can't really support you being here. You seem like very nice people, and that you have chosen a field. Consider options for your future. And thank you.
Thank you for your opinion.
All right, I'm gonna go to Zoom, try to
Okay.
interweave a couple here. Let's go to Gina. You can unmute yourself.
Oh, I got the mic. Hi, my name is Gina Young, and I've lived here for quite a while. I'm the president of Paseo Del Mar Homeowners Association, and I didn't see any surveys that happened up in our neighborhood, which is north of Stanley. And I've received quite a few of the residents are concerned about the McDonald's going in at that location because of the traffic, because of the street. And I know that the two other McDonald's that we have in Ventura have a 4-lane street or wider because traffic does go onto that street. Stanley is a problem going on and off the freeway. People have apps now. They're driving down the coast or they're coming up from Los Angeles and they're looking for McDonald's. And they're going to end up in our community, and you've got a on-ramp going back down to the 101 that is a single lane road. It's not 2 lanes on either side, and you're entering onto the fast lane of the freeway. Now, are you going to do something about the infrastructure of our roadways when you're putting this in? Because of the traffic it's gonna create. You say it's gonna be a community McDonald's, but it's gonna be more than that. You're gonna have people coming for events like X Games or other things at the fairgrounds. And this is we had the Thomas fire and people got stuck on the avenue. They couldn't get out. So we know there's a problem with the freeways or with the roads, the congestion, just the kids getting out of school. There's problems getting onto the freeway or off of the freeway. That's my first question. And then the concern with the drive-through, we have very good air quality in this neighborhood right now. And bringing a drive-through into an area that there are no drive-throughs. There are many cities close by that you cannot put a drive-through in unless there is a business that had a drive-through previously. So this is going to impact our air quality in a big way.
Okay, the first question you were saying about people from basically outside the community coming into the McDonald's, coming off of the freeway, going either to Ohio or other events. Well, just from a real estate standpoint, I should go from a signage standpoint. We won't have any type of signage that's closer to 33 that would attract people or tell people that there's a McDonald's that they can come to and visit.
But people don't use signage anymore. They use apps.
Let's let him finish answering the question.
Go ahead.
So this McDonald's is essentially going to be servicing the people that live here. Yes, there will be some people that come from the outside, that will see the McDonald's and come in. But for the most part, we are looking to just service this local community. This McDonald's is not geared or tiered to try to bring in people from the outside that are coming off of the freeway. If we were trying to do that, we would look or try to seek to get signage from the city that would be close to the freeway so that folks would know we're here. So what we've seen is that when you don't have that type of signage, you really are getting the local folks. And I mean, that's what our restaurants are primarily based off of, you know, for the most part. Obviously, you know, everybody I'm sure has seen the McDonald's off of the freeway, or when they're driving long distance somewhere, they'll see the big pylon signs, what have you, but that's not going to be the case here. In terms of the drive-through element and bringing in more, you know, lack of a better word, smog or what have you, you know, again, our drive-throughs are situated in such a way that we're getting people in and out very quickly. You know, cars are not sitting there for a prolonged period of time where the exhaust is just going into the air and going on and on. I mean, that's one of the reasons why, as Frank said, in the site plan, we have our side-by-side drive-through, allowing 2 cars to order at the same time. Our operations gets the cars through in a very short period of time, so cars are not sitting there just idling and creating that element that you were speaking of.
Well, I disagree that we need a drive-through. If you're just doing the local community, you have plenty of parking spaces at the structure that you wouldn't need a drive-through, and it does impact the noise level and our air quality. You're also next to 3 schools, and the children walk up and down to go to school and then go home. And if you think they're not going to stop at your McDonald's, and whoever said, oh, they have salads now, no, they got rid of their salads. You guys don't have salads anymore, which is unfortunate. But you really have to look at what it's going to do to the traffic on that corner. It's already bad, and it's going to be a huge impact on us. And what are the hours? Our commercial zones right now are only from 8 to 5. They're not on weekends. So this is going to create a lot more light, noise, and a lot of things in our community.
In terms of the traffic, we have submitted a traffic report or survey into the city, and the city is reviewing that right now and will come back to us with comments as to what they feel we can do to improve the corner. So when that comes out, you know, we'll review it and we'll, you know, abide by what the city is looking to try to do or what they feel needs to be improved at the corner when you include a McDonald's there. Because yes, when McDonald's comes, there will be more traffic. You know, I mean, there's a building there and it's a business, whereas there's nothing there right now. So obviously we will bring more traffic. But again, you know, we submitted our traffic study into the city per their code and per their requirements. When we get those comments back, we'll address them, and, you know, we'll, you know, do what they're asking us to do or what they are conditioning us to do in order to make that intersection as workable and as safe as possible.
But it's not just that intersection, it's also the freeway.
Well, the traffic study will not just concentrate on just that intersection. It's actually based on an area, you know, several blocks outside of just where the McDonald's is located at, and how our restaurant would affect those various points. And again, when we get the report back from the city, we'll review it, and, you know, hopefully we can accommodate whatever they ask us to do.
So the option of putting the building without a drive-through is not a possibility?
You know, for us and for quick service restaurants in general, the drive-through is just really what not only drives sales, but it's really what customers are asking for. You know, not only McDonald's, but just quick service restaurants in general. The people that use drive-throughs are generally on the low end about 60%. And in many cases, it can go all the way up to 80 or 90% of what a particular restaurant sales are for the drive-through. And that's really what people are looking for. It's, you know, they're looking for that convenience. They're looking to go in and out, you know, to get their food and be able to go on their way. In some instances, and one of the things that McDonald's is doing, and I know some of our other competitors are doing, is that we're actually shrinking the size of the dining area, because for whatever reason, you know, folks just are
COVID.
not dining in as much. They're just more, they're using the drive-throughs more.
Probably COVID is the
Well,
reason.
quite honestly, it was like this before COVID.
Okay.
I will say that unfortunately, COVID did make the situation, increased it. You know, people got more used to using it, but there was high percentage of our customers were already using the drive-through.
All right.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
Yeah, somebody else
I see
talked.
a lot of hands.
Can I
so I'm
come
gonna
in now?
let
Thank you, Gina.
guys
And,
direct
if we have
the
more time
folks.
at the end, I never want to cut anyone off. I know we have a lot of different speakers that want to go. Before I'm going to go just a few more on the chat because it is piling up, and then I'm going to go to IM because I did see that hand, and then I'm going to go to you. So we're going to try to be as quick as possible. Some of these are already repeated, but just some comments. Gathering place for unhoused. Have they done traffic studies? Stanley is one of the most congested and dangerous freeway access points in the city. I think we covered that right now. Expected hours was just asked. Also, thoughts on our current Harbor Boulevard McDonald's attracting panhandlers and drug trafficking. Have you looked into police records?
I'm not going to say specifically that we've looked into police records on our restaurant on Harbor Boulevard. I will say though that from a security standpoint, you know, we put in as many measures as we can, not only for our customers, but also for our staff. You know, so when you talk about things such as incidents with the unhoused or with just crime in general, we're doing our best to try to make sure that that doesn't happen because, you know, just the bottom line, if we just look at our staff, we don't want them to be in an unsafe environment. I know sometimes people may ask the question, are you looking to have a security officer at the restaurant? What we have learned over the years is that a lot of times having someone there, a security guard or what have you, actually brings more issues than it solves. Because for one, the security guards are not allowed to carry a gun. And, you know, unfortunately, when you're not able to carry a gun, some people will take advantage of that. And you end up with a situation that maybe could have been de-escalated and it blows up a lot more. But outside of not having a security person, we have numerous cameras. Our staff is taught and trained on how to de-escalate situations if things come to that. And of course, like any other business, if things get out of hand, we will call the local authorities, we will call the police to come and assist in a situation if it gets to that type of level.
You can unmute yourself.
Is somebody else online?
That's you, Lee.
Let's go to the.
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Good.
First of all, I just wanted to give a congratulations to someone who must have gotten a really big promotion on discovering this site because it's certainly going to be gold for McDonald's. It's within walking distance of 3 schools, and everyone who has to come or go from our community to the freeway is stuck on Stanley at a stop sign. So the kids are going to be constantly in front of McDonald's in a traffic jam. So families are going to have more or less a forced exposure to this business, you know, probably at least a couple of times a day. I'm just glad my daughters moved out. I've been in this community for 20 years. I am a registered nurse. I went on to become a public health nurse. And I also know a lot about kid behavior. I was a teacher for 20 years. So what I'd like to address first, my biggest concern is really the health issue. And this is not the place to debate it because, well, it's not really debatable. You can Google it yourself. It's one of the top, these fast food and processed foods are one of the top causes of declining health in our country. And you are in a community that lower income, many people of color, and it is, I don't know if this is targeted or what, but whatever, in terms of economic justice, the impacts of this business will be on this community. And the air pollution is another health concern. The stop and go with exhaust is really gonna, I don't know how, triple time, it's gonna make the pollution much worse having a drive-through. So that for sure needs to be nixed. And this infrastructure, this corner you're on, has not been updated in spite of like growing development. We have this huge housing project that's been added, the Solano townhomes north of Stanley. We have farm workers housing coming in, and we still have at this corner a stop sign exiting a freeway from the stop to the fast lane, and both ways exiting and coming on are very, very dangerous. And in terms of the jobs, I know, I'd love to see one person who could support themselves with rent and possibly a car on a McDonald's salary. And my understanding is this is industrial zoning, and that's rare space, actually. So we could have a business in that space that provided more than likely much higher salary than a fast food establishment like McDonald's. And in this survey, I'm wondering, like, so it's really hard to assess this survey. And I know, McDonald's, of course, has a very huge PR public relations department, of course, and I'm sure you're well versed at how to come into a community. But what kind of choices were given? Was it we leave this blighted lot as it is versus McDonald's? And I just think there's so many reasons that this is not an optimal choice for our community. And you're seeing here, word wasn't really out about this. I certainly didn't know about it until like the last 24 hours, and I'm fairly informed. So I think that this is not going to be something that's welcomed by our community. Thank you.
You hit on a number of things there, so I'm going to try to address them as best I can. One, with regards to the kids and coming to the McDonald's, what have you. McDonald's, if we see that there is an issue with kids, and normally it's the older kids coming into the McDonald's and spending too much time, we will basically cut them off from being able to come into the McDonald's during certain hours. We do that at numerous McDonald's when it becomes an issue. So that is something, again, being cognizant, trying to be a good neighbor, something that we do. The other thing you mentioned have to do with the salaries, and basically you can't live off of McDonald's wage. I'm not going to stand up here and try to say that McDonald's wage is going to allow you to buy a multi-million-dollar house, but McDonald's is set up. A lot of times we get people that are starting their first jobs. We get people that are looking to go into a different career. We have numerous examples of people that have started at the restaurants that have gone on into management within McDonald's or other companies, or have gone on to be franchisees themselves. So while yes, the start, when you're first starting, it may not be a salary that you would feel like, hey, I can support my family off of. Our salary, and I'm sure many of you are aware because you guys seem like you're pretty, good with the knowledge, our salaries are going to be going to $20 an hour come April based on the new state law. And that was one of the things that McDonald's, along with some of our other competitors, worked with, the local unions, worked with different nonprofit advocates to, get that law passed. because we want to make sure that people do, have a ways that they can at least say, hey, I'm making a decent wage. Now, to say, like I said, I'm not going to stand up here and try to say that you're going to be a multimillionaire when you first walk into McDonald's, but McDonald's certainly does offer a lot of different steps and career paths to where you can increase your income. You can increase your knowledge in terms of working in the restaurant business that you can transfer to other companies. You don't have to work for McDonald's forever, and you can even transfer it into other departments within McDonald's or with other companies. So, we're not the total answer, but I would say we're not the panacea as well either. We're trying to do our best to be a good community neighbor, pay people a decent wage, give them skills, especially young people, skills that they can use and better themselves, later on in life. And again, be a local community partner. So hopefully I answered most of your questions. I can't, if I didn't, please let me know.
All right, let's go back to our in-person.
Is that it? Wow. Okay. I had issues with traffic, but most of them have been addressed already. But question for the three of you, or listed four of you, I guess one person's missing. Have you ever been to that intersection between 8 and 9 in the morning or 3 and 4 in the afternoon?
I've been at that intersection between 8 and 9 in the morning. Yes, I know it gets crowded. I do understand that. But again, this is why we do our traffic studies. And the traffic studies that we do, it's in conjunction with the city. The city tells us the intersections that we need to look at. We need to examine, see how many cars are going through those intersections right now, and how the addition of a McDonald's will increase that traffic or decrease that traffic. Because the thing of it is that the cars that are on the road, when they go to the McDonald's, they're off the road. They're coming into the McDonald's, they're within our restaurant, within our parking lot. So we are pulling cars off of the road. It's not just
That's only
increasing,
temporary.
But that's why the traffic study's in place, so that the city can tell us how they feel that we're going to affect traffic, positive or negative, and then we'll go off of their comments and make the adjustments.
Also, I had a couple other questions. You're leasing can you tell us who actually owns it?
The property?
Yeah, you're going to lease it, right?
Yes, we are going to lease it, but I don't want to give out persons' names right now. I mean, if you want to know, you can just look on the county records, their parcel records. It's their entity will be on there, but I don't think I will want to release them.
So you don't know if it's a local person?
It is a local person.
Oh, that's good.
It's a local person.
The other thing is somebody mentioned the zoning. Don't you have to get it rezoned?
No, we don't.
You don't?
No, the property right now is zoned to allow for our use, whether it be McDonald's or Raising Cane's or what, Chick-fil-A, doesn't matter. It's that the zoning for that property allows for that use.
Okay, and I assume you probably have children. Any three of you have children?
Children.
You would be okay if they were at a school with a McDonald's nearby?
Yeah, I would.
Oh.
I'll be honest, from a personal standpoint, I've worked for McDonald's now for about 10 or 11 years, and that's broken up into two parts. I worked for McDonald's in the late 90s and early 2000s when my children were very young, and I took them to McDonald's sometimes, and sometimes I didn't. We cooked at home and what have you. And I started back again with the company 4 years ago. And one of the reasons is that McDonald's is a really good company. McDonald's looks out not only for their employees, but they look out for customers. We look out for our vendors like Frank and like Tony. We're trying to do good. Now, like I said before, when you're a company as big as McDonald's, you're going to upset some people. can't help it. I mean, we're just very big, but we strive to do our best locally, nationally, internationally. So like I said, personally, I'm here again because it's a great company to work for. We have good values. Yes, to some people's point, they may have some issues with our food or what have you, but we do our best to make sure that what we prepare for you is as healthy as it can be. And hopefully, based on our results, some people seem to like our food.
Yeah. Couple of other things. We have 3 in town already, McDonald's, and there's another one coming into Ojai. So that's 4. Does the Surgeon General of the United States or the World Health Organization recommend McDonald's as a nutritious choice?
One, there's not another McDonald's coming into Ojai.
There's one there now on the way in.
Yeah, there's one there.
In
That one that's
Miramont-
there.
in
Right,
Miramonte.
there's not- okay.
So that's 4.
And in terms of the McDonald's that are in the town now, yes, you're right. There's 3 existing McDonald's, but the closest McDonald's to where we're at right now is about 15 minutes away. And okay, from a convenience standpoint, which is what a lot of our business is driven off of, it's a ways away. When you think, when people are driving, when people are making decisions, and a lot of times when it comes to quick service restaurants, it's a quick decision. Most of the time people, sometimes you get people that are sitting in their homes and saying, okay, I'm going to go to McDonald's or go somewhere else. And they get up and they get in their car and they go. Most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time it's because people are driving along the road. They need a quick bite to eat, what have you. They may be bringing the kids home from a soccer game or football game or what have you, and they need something where they can just get something quick, and McDonald's is on the way. So from a convenience standpoint, this location we feel is an ideal location, will allow us to serve this local community here.
Yeah, I understand that. You didn't mention anything about my last comment
And
about,
what was that?
are there any health organizations throughout the world that have recommended McDonald's?
Again, what I talked about earlier, I don't know all of the facts, but from my understanding, I don't know of any of the organizations that you're speaking of that, gives out those type of recommendations, whether it's good or bad, whether they would say, yes, McDonald's is a great place to eat, or McDonald's is the last place you want to go eat. I don't.
But you
not
don't
heard
have
of
any
that.
endorsement from any of them at all.
No, I would say we probably don't, but it's not as if
There might be a
we're
reason for that.
trying, it might make it easier, but I think that there's probably a lot of politics involved with that, with just giving one organization something, that type of endorsement.
All right. So yeah, I don't want to limit anyone's comment, and I don't think we're going to go till midnight, like some city council meetings can go to. But I'm going to try to ask if you can ask one, pick your best question or comment, and then if we have more time, we'll go around. Just want to give as many different voices as possible. So we're going to go to this gentleman right here. Oh, okay, her and then. Yeah.
Hi. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Andrew Rodriguez. I'm a owner and a business owner here on the West End. I have 2 boys. I have traffic concerns, but that's not my right now. When you guys were doing the presentation about the neighborhood canvassing, I'm trying to understand that slide that you guys presented to where you canvassed and surveyed 779 residents. The map, it really looks like the selections were not anywhere near the location site. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, so we always start canvassing from the closest to the project site outward. This is what we were able to capture. So our information, it allows for the person that's receiving the information to make a choice. We're not being heavy-handed on them. We're not misleading them. And so what we see on the map that we showed was where the actual addresses were plotted. I actually didn't even know that until we had finished. So we finished canvassing. I put them on a Google plot map, and that's where they showed up. We did try to canvas all around close by. I don't think we went further than a mile, mile and a half around the property. So
Yeah, I didn't see any around my neighborhood, and I'm curious also what time you guys chose to
So
come to the
we try
neighborhoods,
to
like
do it-
when people are at work?
no, we do it in
Or-
three time slots.
Yeah.
So daytime, early evening, and weekends.
Hmm.
So try to reach as many people as we can. The great majority of our attempts were not home. So I don't recall, but maybe like over 2,000 not homes. And these were multiple tries. So we did try to reach people and they just weren't home or wouldn't open the door to us or whatever reason. You know, a lot of times when they see our folks knock on the door, they think we might be selling or maybe religious or whatever, and they don't open the door.
Huh.
And so it, you know, a lot of our attempts went unanswered.
Okay.
One of the other things that we did is that we purposely did the surveys after the holiday season, because during the holiday season, people might be gone for different reasons, or they're out shopping or what have you. And the last thing they want to deal with is somebody knocking on their door for pretty much anything. So we made sure that we waited and we started doing our survey in late January through basically about the big March. Yeah. So we're conscious of that, and we honestly wanted to make sure we got to as many people as possible. And as Tony talked about, when you're knocking on doors, for various reasons, some people are not going to answer the door. It's perfectly understandable, but we were able to reach quite a number of people.
779 residents, and 74% of them supported the project, according to your polls. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brad Miller. I too live in the adjacent community that was mysteriously left out of the canvassing, which I think concerns a lot of us. The concentration of all that canvassing occurred south of the proposed project, all of whom, if they are getting on the freeway, are going to go south to do so. Everybody north of the project are those who will be affected by this project. So that, I think you might understand why that feels so intentionally negligent of the most impacted community. But my question is, a quick Google search reveals that an average McDonald's generates $3.5 million a year, which is roughly $10,000 a day. I assume if you're opening a new store, you expect to generate revenue somewhere close to that. Is that fair to say?
I don't want to go into revenue projections for
Do
obvious
you seek to
reasons.
underperform other McDonald's nationwide?
Well, I'll put it this way. We're not looking to not be profitable.
Okay, so understood. And I missed the answer earlier to the question about hours. I don't know if that was answered.
Right now, in terms of our hours, ideally, we'd like to be from 5 to 11, 7 days. Right now, we're not looking to try to do 24 hours. I will tell you that in our application, we normally do ask for 24 hours because sometimes, depending upon the area, the neighborhood, you have people that come in very early in the morning because that's when they get up to work. And same thing on the opposite end. People are coming home from work or what have you, and we can service those. But typically what happens is that even, let's say we do get approval for 24 hours, right? Let's just say that. We'd just be running it through the drive-through. We wouldn't have the restaurant itself open because there's typically not enough customers to generate, to make it work in terms of the staff that's required to service the interior of the restaurant. And then the other thing is that a lot of times if we do have 24 hours, we won't automatically open the drive-through. It's all based on the amount of customers that are coming through. And if there's not enough, we wouldn't do that. We're not just going to have it open to have it open.
Okay, I'll stop.
Hi, my name is Courtney. I'm here with my 5th generation children to this community. So as you can imagine, it means a lot to me that we keep with the vision of the people that live here. How exactly was this site selected? How was it known? Because I didn't hear any specifics about that. Why was the place where you've decided to put this determined a desirable location, given we have a McDonald's 2 miles away?
One, just from a physical aspect, this particular location is large enough to allow for our McDonald's building along with the drive-through lane and to be able to meet the city's parking code. As I'm sure many of you know, most of the parcels or most of the lots up and down Ventura Avenue are very small in terms of their size. And so they're just not big enough to allow for our standard size restaurant. So that's, one of the reasons why that particular location was chosen. The other reason in terms of why be here is that within the projected trade area that we're looking for this restaurant, based on the census count, there's about 17,000 people that live within the area that this restaurant would service. And so from a demographic standpoint, in terms of the number of people, that's enough for us to be able to justify to open up a restaurant and hopefully have it be profitable for us.
Right. And does McDonald's have any incentives or programs, or is there any way that you would be improving our larger infrastructure? For example, there's been a lot of repeat concern about the on-ramp. Not only from a traffic standpoint, but as an aside, no one's mentioned that is a unhoused person highway. People live in the river bottom there. And to get to your McDonald's at 11 o'clock at night, they're going to be crossing across the freeway, very likely getting killed. And then once they're at your establishment, they'll be using fentanyl, which we already discussed earlier in this meeting. We are at epic crisis level in this neighborhood with drug overdoses. And you might have noticed if you were here earlier that the concentration of overdoses happens to happen a lot of the time over by the Burger King in the area which we nostalgically call Scary Vons, for good reason, because the combination of being able to get fast food and a crack pipe, which is pretty easily accessible at Tobacco and More, 2 blocks away, can create some serious safety concerns for me as a mother, and then also as a homeowner in the area where, I'm worried about getting burglarized or having issues with said folks on drugs. But that's a bit of an aside. Would you be able to improve the infrastructure of our freeway if you came here?
I can't answer that question just yet because I haven't heard back from the city what they were going to require us to do. I would, based on historical standards, I would suspect that the city is probably not going to ask us a lot to do with the freeway just because of the distance. And then also when you're dealing with the freeway, you're dealing with another agency, Caltrans. And Caltrans has a certain amount of authority based on a certain distance from wherever the freeway is on either side. And right now, where our site is located at, that falls outside of their authority. So I'm sure
that's a coincidence.
I don't know if I can say it's a coincidence because the property where we're going at, it's where it's at. We didn't move the land. That's where it's at. And, in terms of the distance of the freeway, again, Caltrans has a certain amount of authority, but their authority doesn't typically stretch that far away. And again, it'll come down to what the city may ask us to do based on our traffic study. For your question with regards to the crime element, as I said earlier, we're going to make sure that we do everything possible to make it a safe environment, not only for customers, but also for our staff. Because if you look at it, the customers are there 10 minutes. If they're going through the drive-through, they're not even there that long. Our employees are there all day long. And so we want to make sure that they're in a situation where they feel safe to come to work. Because if people don't feel safe to come to work, they're not going to come. We're not going to be able to get staff. So we have to make sure that we put them in a safe environment. Again, we go through training with them to helpfully de-escalate situations. And if things escalate out of hand, we'll call the local authorities, the police. We work with the police all the time. We want to make sure that it's a safe environment. To your point about the center up the street, I can't speak for them. I don't know what security measures they have in place. But I know for us, for McDonald's, we're going to make sure that that's some place where people and where families feel safe to come to. You know, I mean, you talked about the fentanyl, obviously that's a very large problem, you know, but locally here where this restaurant will be located at, we're going to do our best to make sure that that is not an issue. Point blank, period. We don't want that.
Everything I've heard you say that in the way that you'll be benefiting our community comes from a business standpoint. As far as, you know, what benefits you, benefits us. Is there anything beyond profits that you have to offer our community which would make us want you to be here?
You know, we're very involved with the community, you know, in terms of dealing with, you know, things like little leagues, you know, again, with police, fundraisers. We do events throughout the year that are just community based. You know, we're here to be with the community, not just to profit from the community and just take money and go away. You know, our restaurant, whether it's a franchisee or whether it's even company run restaurant, we're going to make sure that we're involved with the community. We don't want to just be here saying, oh, here's McDonald's, you just make money. You know, obviously we have to be profitable. I mean, this is America, it's a capitalistic system. You got to make money. I mean, you know, that's the way that is. But for a company like McDonald's, and this is one of the advantages of being a large company, is that you can go out and you can do good and you can still make a profit. And we do that in our restaurants throughout the US every single day.
Last question, does the
I'm
franchisee
gonna-
live in this community?
Sorry.
Does the franchisee live in this community?
At this point, we haven't picked the franchisee. The way our system works, we don't normally pick a franchisee until maybe about 6 to 8 months prior to the restaurant opening, because there's a lot of financial details that we have to go over with whomever we pick or whomever wants to try to become the franchisee of the restaurant. So until we have all of the information together to be able to present to the potential franchisees, for you know, for right now, we don't have that information.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to some of the questions on Zoom. I see about 5 hands up. Let's start
Can
with.
you get the councilman's questions?
I'm going to take them in order. Caitlin.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Hi, Caitlin Brooks. I'm a resident of the West Side. I'm certain that I will be in the minority tonight. For me personally, this would be positive for where I live. I live north of Stanley. And I think it would allow for better walkability from my home. Right now, I load my kids in the car. You know, we don't eat McDonald's every single day, but it's nice to have the options. And I think that it would potentially attract to have better amenities up here in the future. And it was just about options. I think that, you know, it's better than a vacant lot. And so hopefully in the future, it could attract more amenities for this side of town and we can walk there instead of driving. And so that's it. Thank you for your presentation.
iPhone 166.
I just wanted to thank everyone on the council and the 4 members from McDonald's. Really appreciate you guys coming up here. I know it's a lot of pressure. Honestly, I think everyone's sort of hit on it tonight, but I've lived in Ventura, specifically on the Avenue, 35 years, 40 years old. And, you know, I don't really think traffic's an issue. I think you guys selected an amazing location. Trash, I think, you know, Ventura's amazing with trash, pollution. That's just a whole nother discussion. But honestly, I mean, being that close to a school, growing up, going to all the, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, it's all about convenience. I believe, the speaker touched on it himself. It's about fast food. It's about convenience. And ultimately, it just puts a lot of families, aka students, which, usually students have two parents. So let's just double however many students are in De Anza Middle School. They have two parents. So, we're looking at ×3 there. In a lot of cases, this is like breakfast, potentially lunch, and ultimately dinner for a lot of people, a lot of children. That just worries me. I mean, when I was growing up in high school and middle school, I mean, it was all about convenience. I would run off campus, or my mom would, get stuff as close to the campus as possible. So I really just see this as, not the healthiest option for parents. And just to like not stuff this out with a bunch of questions, I just want to know what McDonald's corporation, whatever you want to call yourself, franchise, has done to contact the school board, aka the PTA, aka like the hundreds, if not thousands of people that are going to be affected by this. I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, yeah, blue collar people leaving to work in the morning, grabbing a cup of coffee and a McMuffin, coming back, that's all good. But like, ultimately, this is like a block away from a lot of children, and convenience is a huge thing in today's society. And I just feel like it's, I love all the people that are here discussing all this, but I just feel like the real people that need to be a part of the discussion are the children's parents and the district and the PTA. Yeah, I'll just close on that. Thank you.
All right. Did you want to respond? Should I go to next?
Okay, just saying quick response to your question. This is why we're here, to talk with you guys, to get your comments, your questions. I know you said hundreds of thousands. I won't disagree. Be honest, physically, we can't meet with every single person, but in forums like this, we are trying to tell you, one, what we're looking to do with the property itself and how the restaurant will be laid out, but also to try to address as many questions as possible. And that's part, again, like I've been saying before, is part of being local. We could have just submit the application and go through the process, and then a design review, everybody's grandma and ma and everything else would come up and have their little 2 minutes to speak and go on their way. I think in a forum like this, you guys have a lot more to be able to say. You're able to express it more, and you're not restricted on a time limit, nor am I. I get to speak, and I get to hopefully address your questions as well as I can. And, this is our first public event, so you have to start somewhere. And so this is how we're addressing you guys for right now. And hopefully we'll have some more events and try to do what we can to show that we're going to be, or we want to be, a good neighbor.
All right. Leticia Rubalcaba.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Leticia Rubalcaba. I was born and raised here in Ventura. I live close to Stanley Avenue. I'm a physician assistant, and I'm actually an obesity medicine provider. And so I deal with this every day. I see tons of patients every day about the big epidemic we have of obesity in our country, in the world, really. And I really echo the sentiments of everybody, the issues with traffic and bringing more, just safety concerns to the community. But I'm here to advocate for the health of our community. We all know the West Side is very diverse, and it consists of a lot of economically disadvantaged people too, right? And so this is a population that's very vulnerable to places like McDonald's and fast food. And so it's known that these communities are disproportionately affected by health conditions like diabetes, hyperlipidemia. And so knowing that McDonald's is a fast food restaurant, obviously the high caloric meals will only make this, will only worsen the risk of worsening health in our community, right? My suggestion for all the council members here is I'm all for bringing new businesses to Ventura, but I hope that we can bring businesses that will bring positive results to our community, improve the health of our community. And so my suggestions is to maybe bring a gym to the west side. You know, we don't have a gym, a health facility on the west side. Maybe bring more grocery stores to the side of Stanley. I have to drive all the way to Trader Joe's and Sprouts. And I live on the west side to, you know, be able to have options for healthy foods. So my suggestion is, yes, let's bring more businesses, but to the avenue and the west side, but let's focus on bringing positive businesses, businesses that will bring health and to our people, especially our disadvantaged folks here in the avenue. Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
Well, thank you so much, Marco. I want to thank the Westside Community Council. I want to thank all the members of the public who are there providing their feedback. I want to thank the project team for being there. And also, I think it's great that we've got some city staff there to hear everything that's going on. You know, going off Ms. Rubalcava's comments there, it's important to understand that when we look at what might happen at the Design Review Committee, the Planning Commission, or the City Council, that, you know, we certainly look at things like parking and traffic and air quality, but, you know, what business it actually is not something we can consider. So, you know, it's a drive-through, and we certainly can consider a drive-through, but we can't decide that it would be okay for an In-N-Out, but not okay for a McDonald's, or that a Chick-fil-A can go in, but a Starbucks can't. And so when we look at the issues like parking and traffic and air quality, we do studies, and McDonald's will need to do some mitigation on those things. On Stanley, I think we all know that Stanley is a mess. It's been a mess for a long time. McDonald's didn't create it. And your own Matt Bello is probably the local expert on our traffic mitigation program and traffic mitigation fees. But we don't make some new person come in, some new business come in and do, you know, a $60 million project to fix a freeway on-ramp and off-ramp just because they're new to the neighborhood. And, you know, if I look forward to having more discussions about this, but I really want to thank everybody for weighing in. And I really appreciate, again, the WCC for doing this and doing it so well on Zoom. Thank you.
Thank you. Elliot?
Hi, my name is Elliot Rebuck. I am a homeowner in the neighborhood, just, you know, a couple of blocks away from this. Got a couple of kids, 4 of them, actually, 2 of them right behind me. And, you know, we're not a McDonald's family. We don't do fast food at all. You know, my concerns, you know, are largely around health issues, attracting homeless patrons and panhandling, safety concerns for children, and the impact on local businesses. And before I get into all that, I do want to just mention real quick that there's a paper that was written by a gentleman named Clayton Christensen back in 2006, and he was actually hired as a consultant for McDonald's to help them sell more milkshakes. And through the research, talking to customers and whatnot, they talked about the size and the flavors and all that. That really didn't matter. And after surveying McDonald's, they found that nearly half of the milkshakes sold were sold before 8:30 in the morning. And this was the only thing that the customer bought. They're alone. They always got in their car and just drove away. So you know, with the commute for people, you know, in the local area, you know, they're going to be driving by McDonald's, potentially buying a milkshake and jumping in their car and doing their morning commute. So that's, that's a really, interesting case that really just comes from a consultant that was working directly with McDonald's. So that ties in with the health issues, with, McDonald's primarily like serving these high calorie and fat items. And the increased availability of these items are going to lead to negative health outcomes. Huey, can you take her, please? Yeah. And, that's just a major concern, especially for children attending this, nearby elementary and middle school. They're going to be begging for this type of food. I'm never going to take them there. Sorry about that. But it's going to be an ask literally every single day. So, opening McDonald's in this neighborhood, it just really poses a significant risk to the, health and well-being, especially among the younger population. Another part of this being attracting the homeless patrons and panhandling. Can you please take her to another room real quick? Huey,
She doesn't want me.
sorry about that. Sorry. Yeah, so attracting the homeless patrons and panhandling, like that's a particular concern because it pairs, this restaurant's gonna be attracting children. You're gonna have more encounters with children and homeless people. And this is already occurring in places where, we're just not interested in spending our time. It's really unfortunate. As, someone who lives over here on the west side, we're driving past, the local Vons to go to other grocery stores just because we don't feel safe there. And it's, that Burger King probably had really good intentions when it opened up, and they probably promised, hey, we're not going to have drugs on the property. We're not going to have people selling or buying drugs or, getting in fights or loitering and all these kinds of things. And to some degree, maybe they're not having that happen, on the specific property, but the culture that then, exists, it spills out into the streets, it spills out into the other businesses, and it negatively impacts them. So aggressive panhandling, access to a liquor store that's across the street, more or less, and then another store that sells tobacco products and pipes and things like that. And then the access to the bike path and the river bottom just right across the 33 freeway, it just creates this, dynamic that is really going to negatively impact this neighborhood. I think McDonald's can be a great asset for other communities and areas, but in this specific neighborhood, it's really just going to be a negative impact. And largely that's because the health, and then the fact that the food is priced so cheaply that you can scrounge up, $1 and have a meal very easily. You can scrounge up another $1 or $2, and you're going to be able to go get drunk. And then you're going to be able to go sleep in the bushes right on the Ave, or not the Ave, but on the bike path. And it just creates this really dangerous situation. Like that bike path is already like a real big mess. I mean, I can't tell you how many hours and miles I've logged on it. And I love, working out on that path and using it for exercise and everything, but it's, quite frankly, it's really dangerous. I don't like my kids using it. It provides great access to get to the beach, but it's just very underutilized because of basically the culture that's been created and normalized around that neighborhood that largely stems from the Burger King that's a mile from here, that's basically keeping the homeless population alive. It's unfortunate. My heart goes out to them. I don't want to see them suffering, but I also don't want to see them in my neighborhood. And I don't want to see them, begging my children for, their money that comes from me. It's just unacceptable. And the impact it's going to have on local business and the competition. Like people 9 out of 10 times are going to go to McDonald's. They're not going to go to Lalo's. They're not going to go to the local burger joints. And it's just going to be, a sad impact to see, people get fat and unhealthy, and, not supporting.
Thank you. Do you want to respond to that?
I would say with the question as far as McDonald's affecting other businesses, particularly like small businesses, I would just say, ask you to look around your community, look around in Ventura where there's existing McDonald's. I'm sure you'll find existing small businesses, restaurant businesses. So I don't want to get into a match, but I'm sure there are more than just multinational commercial businesses in the city of Ventura that serve food. And my reasoning for saying that is that, you know, McDonald's, from what we see, and we have, obviously, we've got almost 14,000 restaurants in the US alone, we're generally not coming in and decimating communities from an economic standpoint in terms of making other restaurants close their doors because we're taking so much business from them or what have you. That's really not the case. I mean, we have McDonald's, like I said, we've got almost 14,000 in the US, and we coexist with numerous small businesses that serve things other than what McDonald's serves, and in a lot of instances serves exactly what McDonald's serves: hamburgers, fries, and shakes. And, you know, they can coexist. In terms of the comments that the gentleman made about the safety issues, you know, unfortunately, that is a much bigger problem. And that's happening in communities throughout, you know, Ventura County, LA County, throughout the US. And, you know, McDonald's obviously can't solve that problem, you know, not on its own, but we're certainly going to do our best to make sure, as I've said before, that when you come to a McDonald's, whether you're in a drive-through lane or you come in to actually sit down and eat, that you feel like you're in a safe environment.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
just want
if
to make a
for
quick
us-
comment there. So that's all great, grand, and spectacular. Love it. Keep your patrons safe. I personally am not going to go to McDonald's. I'm not going to buy the food. I'm not going to be subject to, you know, encounters with people, whether they're homeless or not, and whatever their behavior is. It's great that you're going to keep them safe, but the impact of patrons that are homeless and on drugs, and the increased density of the population because of the access to you know, a place to sleep in some bushes and that nearby and on the bike path and in the river bottom, because it's so close, and because it's close to the liquor store, it's close to, you know, the tobacco store that sells paraphernalia. The dynamic that that's going to create is going to negative impact me. And I get you don't control what people are going to do and where they're going to do it. But more people are going to be doing these things that I am not fond of in my neighborhood, because McDonald's is going to be able to basically give them food to survive. So you need your food, water, and shelter,
Okay,
right? So they're going to get
thank you,
food and
Elliot.
water there.
You
Their
can
shelter's
respond,
going to be in
to
the
that really
bushes a
quick,
mile
and then
away.
go back to the audience.
Yeah, go for it.
Um,
Thanks for your time.
No problem. Thank you for your comments. I understand that you don't want to eat at McDonald's. Guess what? A lot of people don't eat at McDonald's. In fact, the majority of people don't eat at McDonald's, you know, but there are people that do eat at McDonald's and eat at McDonald's because they like the food, they like the convenience. There are a lot of different reasons. In terms of the specific issues you talked about with the homeless that are nearby, I can't solve that problem for you. Those people were already there. But what I can say, though, is that there's not going to be homeless people in the bushes at the McDonald's. There's not going to be homeless people coming up to you at the drive-through lane asking you for money. Because if that does happen, our staff will try our best to make them go away. And if they don't, we will call the police and have them removed from our premises. All we can do is control what happens on our property. And we're going to do the best that we can to make sure that that is a safe environment. And I understand if you don't, you know, want to come to the McDonald's because different reasons, you know, that's your choice. That's the great thing about living in this country. You can choose not to do that. But I'm just saying that we're going to do our best to make sure it's a safe environment.
All right, let's get the comment in the back, and then I saw some hands up here too.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth and I'm with the WCC. I say go for it. You guys gave me work experience. It was my first job there. They're saying that how does this benefit or how do we get money? I helped my parents pay the rent with that job that I had. I'm grateful for that job. There's not a lot of the Hispanics here that work at the McDonald's because if they had time here, they would be saying stuff about McDonald's that is good. It gives you work experience. That's what you guys are not seeing beyond that. Now you guys are saying about the drugs, homeless people. That's very separate from the realtors here. Then you guys need to bring that to us. So we talk to the housing. We talk to the Ventura Police Department. That has nothing to do with them. You guys it's really sad to see people here saying that, oh, there's homeless people asking for food outside McDonald's. So it says a lot about everybody in here. Okay, for you guys to give out to the community, you guys do it by heart, not judging the homeless people, people that are on drugs. People have problems. That's why they're homeless. You guys can't be doing this if you guys are here. I say go for it. You guys give a lot of work experience to the teenagers in school and college. I know you guys offer also the Ronald McDonald's. I was helped by the Ronald McDonald's house because of the charities that were given to us. So I say go for it. People are going to talk. People are going to say whatever they want. At the end of the day, the last word, it's the city and you guys. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Who's got the next hand up?
My name's Tim Delaney. I am a resident north of Stanley, and I am really concerned about the polling and the lack of polling in that neighborhood. I work from home. I answer my door. Nobody came down my neighborhood. My neighbors, most of them are here right now or were. Nobody came down our street. We would have known. Most of us work from home now since COVID. I implore you to recanvass, leave flyers on our doors, put them in our mailboxes. If you want to hear from us, if you want to hear from that community, we'll tell you what we think. We are, but we weren't canvassed. And I saw one dot in our neighborhood. There's thousands of people there. And, you know, I see the map was all down here. I'm also concerned. I want to comment to the city council member that talked before Elliot about the infrastructure. You're asking to open up 2 streets that are not access to the public right now. Rockline Road, South Stanley, is that what you're calling it? It's private, and East Stanley has never been open to the public. It's a gate, it's a driveway. And so I'm really concerned with a resident. I walk my dog down Stanley every morning and by De Anza, and was involved in a major car accident in front of on the avenue in front of De Anza with a distracted driver and rear-ended, and it totaled my vehicle. I'm horribly concerned. It's not just the extra traffic, it's that the residents can't get out during certain times of the day. And I was in that mess the night of our major fire during the evacuation, and it took me 2 hours to get from my door to the Stanley on-ramp in traffic, because that is our only way out. And that's what I'm concerned about. I really like polling to happen in that neighborhood. Thank you.
Two things. One, and then I'll let Tony address the polling issue. You didn't see it on the site plan, but there's no access to the McDonald's off of East Stanley. The only way you'll be able to access the McDonald's is through Rockline, or Rockline, I think that's called. You will not be able to get in and out of the McDonald's from East Stanley. So that's for starters. In terms of, right, but that, again.
Hang on.
in terms of our restaurant.
There's no cross traffic except for trying to, industrial traffic. There's kids, that's the main path to our school. It's across that street.
Again, we'll work with the city on traffic mitigation efforts to make that as safe as possible. In terms of access to the site, folks won't be able to access the site off of East Stanley. They won't be able to access the site off of Ventura. They'll only be able to access the site off of Rock Line, I think it's Rock Line. Rock Line. So that right there, it reduces the number of possibilities where there could be an incident with cars just because there's fewer access points. In an ideal situation, from a site planning standpoint, you'd like to have at least a minimum of 2 access points so that folks can easily get in and out and converse the lot. One other thing you talked about, having to deal with the fires and how hard it was for you to get out. If there's a situation where there's fires and that type of situation, or like we've been dealing with the floods, and everything else, you're not going to be able to get to McDonald's and get a hamburger because we're going to be closed. We're like everybody else. We're gonna make sure that again, customers and employee safeties come first, and so we will be closed. So in that type of instance, it would not be a situation where McDonald's is holding up.
Hang on.
Really, I'm concerned about the buy-in from that portion of
Okay.
We can't
All right,
hear
all right,
her.
hold on.
No,
Let
I'll let
him
Toby
respond.
address
We
that.
have some other people that want to talk to.
Yeah, so it's just a plot map. I have all the addresses. We'll figure out how we want to share them.
Hang on.
Yeah, can I finish? You seem to be upset about this. I want to ask you about it. Yeah, I understand that, but that doesn't mean that the other people that signed up don't feel the same way you do. There were people that signed up for this. I just started working for McDonald's a year ago. I had never worked for them, but my first job was at McDonald's, and it also taught me a whole lot of discipline, and it helped my family with money that we needed at that time. So I just want to echo the sentiment, and you know that because I told you that. So it does create jobs, and what we found in some of these respondents was, I want a job there. That was the truth. So there may be situations where people say, that's not a job for me, but there are people in this community that responded by saying, I like it, I have no problem with it, and I like a job there. And these people put their name down and their phone number down. So we cannot discredit that those people didn't sign up in support. Now, in terms of polling in your neighborhood, we can certainly discuss redoing that. That's certainly an option, but we did try our best, and we did submit maps to McDonald's about the areas we were going to canvass. If we missed you, we apologize. It wasn't intentional. Well, no, that map could tell us that in that neighborhood, the respondents didn't respond to us. They could have taken the flyer and said no. They could have said, I don't want to give you my information, or I don't support.
Sorry. Stop.
That only shows people that said yes.
Hold on.
Yes. No, we didn't plot the no's because they didn't give us information. When they said no, they were like, goodbye, and they took our information. They didn't give us their name or phone number or address. There's no way we can plot them. Most people that didn't want to hear from us didn't give us any further information. It wasn't a survey. It was like, would you support us?
Hang on.
Yes, the information that we gave out had information to reach out to us.
And also, one of the things I would say is it's a multi-layered approach. One of the things we do is go out and we poll. Another thing we do is standing right here and talking to you and give you a chance to, we sent it out. Someone said that it was really quick. They didn't get it. We went by what the community council instructed us how to do it. And so it gives you an opportunity, if you weren't canvassed or if you didn't hear somebody in at your door, to be here and you're being able to address your concerns. So we're trying to do, again, our best from a local standpoint to address as many people as possible. Are we going to get into the thousands? Probably not, because I can only do so much. But we are trying to do our best. And again, it's a multi-layered approach as to how we're trying to address the community concerns.
All right, hold on. Yeah, we have one question here and then we'll get it back over here. I just want to, yeah, we want to keep some more also for the recording later so we can get all of this feedback so we can direct it to council later.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. I am a resident and homeowner on the west side. I live just north of Stanley Avenue. I also was not polled for this. I have never received any kind of survey. Nobody knocked on my door. I have Ring camera. I just want to communicate very succinctly that I am not in favor of this project. This is not the right project for the west side. We do not need another fast food restaurant. As has been stated before, we already have a McDonald's down on Harbor, 2 miles up in Ojai. We have a 7-Eleven. What the west side does need is access to fresh fruits and vegetables and healthy options. And this is not personal, but unfortunately, McDonald's is not the right project for the west side. And I please ask respectfully that you listen to the residents of this community and take your project somewhere else because it's not for us here. Thank you.
And I do hear what you're saying, and thank you for the comment. But I would say in response to that is that we have heard from other members of the community that say they do like a McDonald's. And, you know, that's how it normally goes almost with any situation. You're going to have two sides to any discussion, you know. And so, again, we're here to try to tell you what we would like to bring to the community, the benefits for the McDonald's, try to address your concerns. At the end of the day, you know, we still have certain hurdles that we have to try to meet with the city, and we're going to go through that. And we'll see what happens. I would say that McDonald's, you know, brings a lot of benefits. And when you were talking about, you know, fresh fruit and all of that, and I certainly agree with what you're saying. But one question I would pose, though, is that on that particular lot, it's been vacant for a very long time. And plenty of retailers, small and large, that serve fresh food had more than an opportunity to come there prior to McDonald's conversing with that particular landowner. Why they did not, I don't know. I can't address what other companies do and how they think in terms of site selection or population or what have you. So I just hope that we, you know, the blame is not put on us for choosing a location that we feel works for us and try to be an asset to the community when for whatever reason, other individual owners or companies did not do that. And again, I can't speak for them.
All right, before we continue, I'm going to let you speak. Just want to make sure, obviously, I want to let everyone speak and have a chance to continue this discussion, but just want to get some consensus. Obviously, our meetings normally go till 8:30, but I'm happy to continue this past 9:30 if you guys want to keep asking questions. Just want to see where everyone's at right now. Keep going? Okay. All right, let's keep going with comments. Who's next? Who's got the mic next?
I'll be quick. My name is Gerardo Gallegos. I'm a local resident, business owner, homeowner. I just have a comment, question, and suggestion. My comment is I'm not loving it. I'm not loving the McDonald's right where it's going. My suggestion, my question is, of the people that were polled, what age group? Because I would imagine if could have been a bunch of teenagers that said, or kids, or you know, what age group?
We don't take anybody's response unless they're over 18 years old. Okay. They're not really legally allowed to give us a response at that point. So it's always, if they look like they're young, we'll ask them if they're of age. We really can't card them, but we'll discard that if we think they're a teenager because
Understand.
they have to be 18 or older to give us a response.
And my suggestion is based on the feedback from the community. The biggest concern is the location, and I would just suggest that maybe you guys look into Mission Plaza where there's already a Little Caesars and a Burger King, and that's kind of a food, district court for fast food. But as far as the impact that it would have on our community on that particular location, I don't think that's the best use for that space for our community. I could see a lot of other things going there, like the pool that the West Side has been longing for over 20 years. A lot of other things could go there that would benefit the community. And I don't think you would get as much pushback if you looked into maybe the Mission Plaza.
Just real quick from a real estate standpoint, the Mission Plaza, there's a restriction and Burger King will not allow a competitor like a McDonald's in there. So that's just from a technical standpoint. Again, as I spoke earlier about the location, because of the parcels and the parcel sizes up and down Ventura Avenue, this is one of the few parcels that allows us to be able to develop our restaurant along with the drive-through and be able to meet the parking code. Because obviously we've got to make sure that we meet the various city codes that are in place.
All right. Matt Bello, West Side resident, a few blocks away from the spot. A couple, first of all, just to say to the community, it's not unprecedented in California for communities to ban fast food locales. In South LA, they did it in 2008. My understanding is that's still on the books. We know Ojai has done it. We do see a McDonald's in Miramonte, but remember that's unincorporated Ventura County. Carpinteria has a McDonald's without a drive-through. So really, I think the questions that we should be asking are to them, but also to people like Rachel Diamond, who thank you so much. Oh,
she
gone?
just left a couple minutes ago. I'll make sure she gets
That's so
this
funny.
footage.
But we should be asking her, what kind of power do we have as a community to still address this if we really do want to address it? I think that those are the most constructive discussions we could have right now. There's the variables of the Stanley on-ramp, the traffic that we all know, and the regulations that we do have as localities to regulate fast food and chain restaurants and everything like that. If we're worried about that, I'm personally, I'm a teacher, and I don't like seeing my kids come in with unhealthy food. I see the impact it has on their ability to learn and everything. I see that obesity rates have tripled in the last 3 years, and or 3 decades, excuse me, for young people. And I think fast food has an impact on that. I'm personally pretty much against it, but I think that we should really look at regulation wise what we can do. They have their interests. You guys have been a class act, and thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate that, but we have our interests as well, and I think we can move forward and constructively figure out what to do.
Love the comment.
I want to echo the sentiment that you guys have been in class act tonight, and thank you for your time. I also want to thank the guy on the back, I'm sorry, I forget your name, who spoke up on behalf of the opportunities that McDonald's can provide. I don't think that should be overlooked, but there's some conflicting data and statements that have been made tonight that I would just love to know if there's some commitment to those jobs. You spoke about the fact that you are here to be profitable, first and foremost. I think we all know that. You're going to try to be doing that in 6 hours less time than you have at a number of locations. And you spoke about the efficiency of your drive-through. McDonald's has recently rolled out AI drive-throughs. So if we're speaking about efficiency, a smaller dining room, which requires less personnel to maintain, it looks as though it's going to be a very efficient labor model to overcome some of the headwinds you're facing with shorter hours. And I'm just wondering if there's a commitment to just how many jobs. You spoke also about the fact that wages are going up to $20. I've run restaurants. I know how P&Ls work. when one cost goes up dramatically, something else gets cut. And if labor goes up, labor hours get cut. Like, what commitment to those jobs is McDonald's willing to make, if any?
We're going to commit to make sure that we have employed people on average. We're going to have probably anywhere from about 20 to 35 people overall, not working at any one time, but obviously in various shifts. You know, some of those people will be management, will be making more than the $20 an hour. In terms of your statement about the AI drive-through, what have you, that's something that McDonald's is experimenting on, but McDonald's does a lot of experiments. I mean, you know, it doesn't mean that that's something that's going to come to fruition. But the one thing that I can tell you for sure is that we definitely will have employees in the restaurant. We will have human beings that will be cooking the food, and that we're going to be paying, you know, $20 an hour or more if they're management. You know, that's the standard that we're going to have.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hi, my name's Ron Whitehurst. Run a small company next freeway exit up the street. And my company won the Regenerative Business Prize back in 2016. So I know how to impact corporate speak. So it's great that you'll be employing people, but it's a small number of jobs, and with AI, smaller and smaller number of jobs. And but you're an international corporation, so probably all of the profits will be going to Wall Street, not to Main Street or the Avenue as it is. A dollar spent in the community, it cycles about 7 times, and so any dollar spent in the at a local shop will improve the economy generally locally. And so you have expressed that you're looking at sourcing locally. Our business sources about 95% of our supplies within the county and about 99% within California. I challenge you to show that you source more than a couple of percent of your supplies from even in the local state. With the tremendous buying power of McDonald's, you can source things very, very cheaply. And so that, you know, helps with your bottom line. And let's see, the jobs will hiring people for with low wages, usually try to schedule those in for less than 30 hours a week so you don't have to pay benefits. So there's all these games that are played. And then the food. I did a deep dive into GMO foods. And so my guess is that about 100%, at least 95% of the beef that you use comes from CAFOs, confined animal feeding operations, kind of like prisons for cows and such, that are fed GMO corn and soy. This creates animals that are unhealthy. So when people eat that food, it does not support their health. And most of the oils that you use are probably from GMO sources, like corn, soy, and cottonseed oil. And then the wheat that they use probably is conventional wheat. And so it was raised using Roundup. And so that Roundup is in the bread products. And so when people eat that bread, it disrupts their gut flora. And so it causes them to be hypersensitive or allergic to wheat. So yeah, it's beef, potatoes, and stuff like that. Good old Midwestern staples. But you know, the way that it is grown and processed, you know, turns out to not to be healthy. In the 15 years that GMO foods have been part of the American food system, we've had declining health outcomes. there's about 67 different conditions that have increased tracking the amount of GMOs in the food supply. And so it does not bode well for our population eating that food. And then my compliments to your supervisors, your managers, that you have a wonderful range of melanin in the skin colors here. So my compliments to your managers.
That on. John Herndon, local resident here on the Avenue. Just a quick question for you, Skylar. You mentioned that there's about 16,000 to 17,000 people in the vicinity of where the restaurant's going to be. And then Tony, you only canvassed about 2,000 of those and came back with responses to 700.
Yeah, that's
So those were so who's responsible for your output? Does that come back to you, Skylar?
Yes, it does. And
you
I would say to you, for instance, when you look at polling that's done, like for politicians or what have you, and they say, oh, okay, so-and-so got 78% or 79% or 30% or what have you. And if you read the fine print, it says they polled 2,000 people, 3,000 people on something that might be a statewide issue. And you say to yourself, well, how can you come about with that? Well, you can only hit so many people so often. And to Tony and his credit, you know, he had about what, 4 or 5 people out there canvassing. So from a physical standpoint, logistics standpoint, they can only hit so many doors. They can only go to so many people. And we're trying to get a representative idea of what the community feels like and extrapolate from that.
All right, but that's a very low percentage to try to make a decision to see where the community as a whole is, in my opinion. And I know those polls you're talking about, and you'll see at the bottom, it says plus or minus 5% or 6%. I totally agree with you on that. I guess what I'm getting at is when you come to our community, come to our town and our side of town, and you throw up what I call a BS slide that shows 74% of the community is for this McDonald's out here on Stanley Avenue and Ventura Avenue, when you only polled 3% to 4%, I would suggest in the future for McDonald's and Skylar, for you guys to get some real numbers, and let's get some more of the community's input, the real community. Yeah, I can do it. There's social media. There's so many ways to do it except the standings. But that's the focus to go up to say 74% of the communities for this McDonald's, when truly that's not the case.
Okay, I would again point to the fact that, as I said before, it's a multi-layered, multi-tiered approach that we're doing here. That's why we're here. This is not polling. This is talking to you directly. This is another way to try to reach the community and find out what your thoughts are. Now, I'll be quite honest. I'm not going to discount the people that we polled that said that they want McDonald's, because they do live in this community. Maybe they don't live north of Stanley, you know, but to Tony's point, they did go to north of Stanley, and people, for whatever reason, said no. And so if they say no, you can't count them. You know, we're not going to write your name in and falsify the information, okay? But because of that, we're here. We're talking to you. We hear your concerns, good, bad, in between, and we're going to take that into account.
They say, here's a piece of paper, you check yes or no to this question. So your polling is wrong. It's wrong. It's not correct. So if you're gonna poll, you gotta give somebody an option to stand. And people say, no, the way speech is not.
I understand what you're saying, but the only thing I would say, well, the only thing I would say is that then my poll will be 100%. Everybody wants McDonald's. And that was not the case. But again, this is why we're doing different avenues. So now you've had a chance to let us know. And that's all we're trying to do, you know.
Yeah,
Okay.
so when somebody said no to us, we actually counted it as a no, but we had no contact information. So that's why we say 74% of the people we spoke to, there were no's. We don't have their contact information. So we did put that there were no's. And this was an outreach process. It wasn't technically a poll. A poll is much more scientific in that it would have, you know, a baseline of questions. They would have push questions that would bring you back to the baseline to see if the push questions got you to move from the baseline questions. So it really wasn't a poll, it was more of an outreach. And again, I want to leave you with the fact that we did our best to try to provide information. And if people didn't want it or turn us away, that was okay too. We're not representing that 74% of this community support the project. We're saying 74% of the people that spoke to us and signed the card said yes. That's all we're saying. We're not, if you looked at the slide, that's what it said. We're not trying to misrepresent anything. And I think that Skylar does a really great point in that we did discuss multifaceted approach. Do the neighborhood outreach, come here, probably come here multiple times. We got the city process that's more of a legal, you know, prescribed process that'll give you an opportunity to talk to decision makers. There are many projects that don't do this. And so I just want to leave you with the fact that we're not trying to mislead anybody. And I do appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Okay.
We're not hiding.
No, you're obviously not hiding.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, you're obviously not hiding. You're here. I want to make a recommendation because I think when you tell people, do you want a McDonald's and they say no, you've got to say to them, well, you've got to give us your contact information or your opinion will not be registered. They need to know that. Otherwise, it is.
We'll take that into account. That's a good point.
Manipulative, and I think you can.
Yeah.
I don't think you took the poll seriously enough. So the next poll you do,
That's a good point. We'll
be
see.
more
I think
specific.
my experience is that when people say no to us, they don't want to give us their contact, but we'll ask them. That's a good point. We'll ask them.
Yes, say and let them know their no won't be counted. And that's what I would want to know. I might not want to give my contact information, but if you said, well, you realize if you don't give it to me, I can't count your no. And oh, okay. Well, that's not what I heard.
Okay.
Okay, so that's just my suggestion and you know, but the thing I really want to speak to here is the thing about McDonald's being a place for convenience. Because I saw the area where that polling was done with the little lots, as you said. These are people, many of whom have to work 2 jobs. And they're up at 5, 4, and 5, and 3 in the morning. And they come home and they rush around and they try to figure out what to do before they head out, or they don't get home at all and they rush off to the next job. And sometimes it's both parents and they're barely making it doing that. So of course they want convenience food. And those are probably most of the people who said yes, because, and you know, they're the ones who will text their kids and say, I can't make it home to cook tonight, go by McDonald's and pick something up.
All right. All right.
And I'm concerned that is not.
Let's we are actually going to cut anyone off. It sounds like you guys, I said a couple times that we probably have another one of these discussions in the future, maybe canvassing I'm hearing. So more to come for sure. Do appreciate your time and coming to answer questions and hear comments and feedback from the community. There are surveys in the back. If you haven't filled it out yet, if you haven't signed in, we can write down your contact information. You can keep up with all things WCC, including what else happens here, follow what happens from the city, the design review committee, planning commission, all those dates to be continued. the board is welcoming of any suggestions that anyone has on what we can do next. But until then, thank you for coming. Our next meeting is the first Wednesday of March. I do apologize for having to use the gavel and apologize to the people on Zoom. All the comments we'll send and forward to McDonald's, to city. But glad that you guys all came out here, whether it was in person or on Zoom. And I'm sure everything came through. So thank you so much. Have a great evening.